Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk. I am your host John, and today here on the channel we're going to be counting down all of the films that I saw in September from worst to first. And this is one of my favorite videos to do each and every single month because it puts all the movies that I saw for the first time in September up against movies I may have seen for the millionth time and see how they stack up against each other. Like, do my favorites come out on top, or do I have movies that I saw for the first time? Are they actually better than some of my all-time favorites? That's the real challenge of this list, and I didn't really see too many bad movies, if any, in the month of September, so this was actually a really hard list for me to make, but I'm not going to waste any of your time. We're going to dive right in, and I believe I have 36 films that I saw this month, and at number 36, I got A Stalker in the house. Now, this is definitely one of those movies that it's so bad, it's good. This was Kevin Kruger, our channel director's choice review for the month of September, and I liked it enough. The acting in it is just absolutely atrocious. It's clearly a film that had a very low budget, and it makes you ask a lot more questions than the movie is willing to give answers. But like I said, I was at least entertained by it, so it doesn't commit the cardinal sin of film and be a really boring time. Next up, I got The Cellar. It does kind of hurt me to put this one this low because the director, producer, writer reached out to me and wanted me to review this here on the channel, and I reviewed it. I just didn't think it was a perfect film. I think it felt like a short film that kind of got extended out to a feature-length film. There's just too much filler in there, even though the tension is fantastic throughout the entire film. Some really great monologues delivered by the actors. It's a true blue indie film, so you're supporting an indie director, and you'd want to see somebody who works their ass off to make a film, make a movie, like bring it to fruition, something that I know I could probably never do, but I admire the filmmaker. But if I'm ranking all the films, unfortunately I do have to put this one a little low. Next up, I got Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, and I'm pretty sure now I can finally say that this is the worst Friday the 13th film out there. And it's such a big swing. I watched Friday the 13th, Jason Lives, New Beginning, and then, of course, the one that comes after it, Jason Takes a Ferry to Manhattan. And I thought Jason Takes a Ferry to Manhattan was my least favorite. Well, A New Beginning is horrible. And coming off of Jason Lives, I watched them back to back, probably for the first time in a very long time, and you notice the quality dip from Jason Lives. Speaking of Jason Takes a Trip to Manhattan, we got Jason Takes Manhattan, the last of the Paramount releases for Friday the 13th, and everyone's always like, come on, don't you love cheesy 80s movies? Don't you love Jason Takes Manhattan? Jason Takes Manhattan should not be this boring. That's the problem I have with this movie. When it gets to Manhattan, it kind of fulfills the title, but it's just not enough. It spends the most of the trip on this terrible boat with some very unlikable characters. Yeah, some of that 80s cheese in there works. And next up, I have the Child's Play remake, which I watched for the first time. And the best part about this is Mark Hamill's voice acting. The doll itself, not really the greatest. It's scary as hell. I don't know why the kid would even bother wanting to get this doll. It's asking some new questions. It does feel a lot like Megan, but Megan is a much better movie than the Child's Play remake. Another remake we didn't really need to get. Aubrey Plaza is very good in the movie as well. It did actually have some pretty decent writing in moments, so I can't say it was an out-and-out failure. It just felt like very much a generic horror film, and obviously when you slap the Child's Play name on there, your expectations go a little bit higher, and it's really just something that feels like it would have come out in February. You'll watch it once, it's fine, and that's it. But you got the Child's Play name on it, and now you're almost forced to watch it more than you probably ever intended to. Next up, I got my least favorite Scream movie, because I did watch all of the Screams except for the last Scream this month, mainly because October's booked pretty heavy, and we're also doing a podcast on the Let's Talk Movies podcast with David and I, aka Shamrock Balls, where we're going to be discussing the first Scream. So naturally, I watched the first 5 Screams, and Scream 2 is definitely still my least favorite of them all. And that's still saying it's a pretty decent movie. I love the opening of this film. I always wish I was at a theater experience like the way they're seeing Stab. But Scream 2, just for me, fumbles the ball in comparison to the original Scream. A lot less likable characters. We also kill off some favorites. I'm looking at Jamie Kennedy. And it just doesn't necessarily work for me. It feels like they ran it back. It's got some good moments. I like the ending, but I don't love it. Next up, Scream, or what should have been called Scream 5. I hate that this movie's called Scream, but the movie itself isn't necessarily that bad. There's actually some very good meta moments in there, like all the Screams, they're commenting on the horror of the time. It had been a pretty long time, I want to say 10 or 11 years since Scream 4, so It'd been a long time. They had a lot of horror movies to be commenting on. You bring in some great actors of the time, like Jenna Ortega. Obviously, that was going to put some asses in seats. The Radio Silence guys, I've enjoyed their films. I've enjoyed their style. And there's a lot of good stuff in Scream. Returning to Woodsboro. It's just, in comparison, again, not necessarily the greatest. Next up, if you guys saw our flashback films, Are They Still Fun? You saw that Dead Aside talked about Hocus Pocus, which is a beloved 90s Halloween time film for a lot of people. Really fits in the spooky season. I believe they really captured that autumn look in this movie. The three actresses playing the Sanderson sisters are great. It's obviously Sarah Jessica Parker's best film. Bette Midler's just chewing the scenery. Kathy Ninjami is always great as that perfect comedy release. She might be the funniest, even though they're all really funny. And the movie itself is definitely a 90s Disney kids movie. And that's fine. It doesn't need to be more than that. You get those nostalgic feelings. But I've never been the world's biggest Hocus Pocus fan. And it's still not one that I run back to all the time. Next up, Scream 3, and I know a lot of people put Scream 3 at dead last, mainly because they cut a lot of the gore in there, but I actually like this one, and my wife finally hit it on the head as to why I probably like this one more than the others. I guess I wasn't looking at myself. I love movies about making movies. I love it when, they're on film sets, and thinking movies like Saturday Night that came out last year, or The Player. It's just something that it scratches an itch for me, so probably this one just fits more into my wheelhouse, more in my taste. This is also the only one that actually has a solo killer. I don't like that they try and even though they explain that this is the reason why we're doing this, because it's the third one in a trilogy, I don't like that they try and retcon stuff from the first two films, even though that's kind of part of the point. I guess it's intentionally making you mad, but still don't really love that kind of stuff. And Jay and Silent Bob pop up in this one, just like Wes Craven popped up in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Kind of love that little tie-in. Next up, I got The Beautiful Troublemaker, and this was Uncle V's choice review for the month of September, and this one is a 4-hour epic that is definitely not going to be for everybody, but surprisingly moves along at a very good pace. You care about the characters, you care about the story. There's just going to be a lot of downtime, and that pacing might not be for everybody, but it's still a fantastic film that I can recommend. Next up, I got the original Child's Play. I've never really been the biggest Child's Play fan. The original one, though, is a classic in the horror genre. I love the opening of this one. It's the only time we ever really get to see Brad Dourif playing the character on the screen before he, becomes the doll, before he becomes a good guy doll. And the original one has a lot of, gnarly kills in there. It's just the plot device of, is Chucky real or not? It can be a little bit tiresome after you've watched the movie so many times. And it's probably the reason why I don't really run back to this one. The only two Child's Play movies I really ever run back to are Child's Play 2 and Bride of Chucky. Next up, I got Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. This is the only Halloween film I actually watched in September. I'm going to watch the rest in October, obviously Halloween, October, but the first day of fall, I wanted to actually check out this one because of the opening credits, and this one I really think captures the autumn vibes. It's also crazy how much this movie is just like the original Halloween, just basically taking Halloween and putting it in the 1980s, comes out 10 years later. There's just a lot to like in this movie. I've always believed it's a very underrated Halloween film that I can always recommend, and that Shout Factory 4K Blu-ray is fantastic. Next up, I got Krull, which I saw for the very first time this month. This was Stone Gasman's choice review. It also got a 4K Blu-ray release from Sony, which is a great 4K Blu-ray release. This one might rise up the list with more rewatches because I really did enjoy it. Again, another movie that checks a lot of boxes for me. Came out in the 1980s, has those great practical effects. Even the computer effects kind of combined with the practical effects work for it. The plot might be a little bit convoluted, but this movie is entertaining as hell. You get to see a young Robbie Coltrane and a young Liam Neeson, and I just think the movie works fantastically. Is it a perfect film? Absolutely not, but if you're a fan of these types of 80s movies, think of Conan the Barbarian. If you're into that, I think this is one you'd be into as well. Next up on the list, I got Spawn. Now, Spawn is one of my favorite ones from when I was a kid. A lot of nostalgia is wrapped up in this movie because most people will consider Spawn one of the worst superhero films of all time. It got an Arrow Video 4K Blu-ray release that I did a review for here on the channel. It's not even out yet on 4K Blu-ray technically, even though most people I think have gotten them. This is one that has a pretty big cult following, and I'm pretty happy to be a part of that cult because I do really enjoy this movie. Michael Jai White and John Leguizamo give great performances. Is the CGI good? Absolutely not. We're talking PlayStation 1 level CGI in this movie, and it's not good. It hasn't stood up at all, but it's still a very fun comic book film from 1997, and definitely better than the other comic book film that came out that year. And next up, I have Mr. Smelly Potatoes' choice review for the month of September, Man and Witch, The Dance of a Thousand Steps, which was a very good fantasy film that you can watch right now on Amazon Prime that I had no idea was coming out. And this is a movie that features Sean Astin and Christopher Lloyd. No idea, never heard of it. And until Mr. Smelly Potato said, hey, why don't you check this one out? They did not market this movie at all. It's just buried on streaming services, and that is terrible because this is a very entertaining movie. Kind of like, it's not a very serious fantasy film. It kind of reminded me a lot like a live-action Shrek film would be, while also being a lot more adult-oriented. And I think it works. I think exactly what they were going for with this movie, the exact tone, I think they nailed it. Kind of reminded me a lot of like Psycho Gorman, and that's something that kind of fits my taste, so I really did enjoy this one. Next up, Tron Legacy. We got Tron and Tron Legacy's 4K Blu-rays or 4K Steelbooks this past month. After rewatching them, you'll see where Tron ranks, but Tron Legacy is still really good. It's just not a great film. There's some stuff in here that kind of like drags the entire movie down. Sometimes the plot can get a little convoluted. The CGI, the de-aging CGI on Jeff Bridges with that smirk in those eyes, it's just not good, and no matter what. It doesn't matter how good the 4K Blu-ray is. A lot like Spawn, you can't make that look better. And we spend a lot of time with the younger looking Jeff Bridges, and it's distracting every single time. But still, Tron Legacy is great. Kind of renewed a love for Daft Punk, and there's a reason why Tron Ares is coming out pretty soon. So a lot of that has to go to Tron Legacy. Next up, Judgment Night, which I only saw for the first time last year thanks to our channel director Kevin Kruger mailing me the Blu-ray, and then me and David, aka Shamrock Balls, did an episode of Let's Talk Movies podcast on this movie. And, this is like a kind of beloved 90s thriller. It's not necessarily a movie that I absolutely love, as you can see where it ranks on the list, but it is very enjoyable. It's one you can probably watch every couple of years. The cast is stacked. Cuba Gooding Jr., Jeremy Piven, Dennis Leary, you even get Everlast and Paul Green in this movie. So it's filled to the rim, and it's also got plenty of great songs because the soundtrack is fantastic as well. Next up, Nashville. I watched a lot of Robert Altman movies this month, and obviously one of those movies is one of his most famous, is Nashville. Now, you see where I put it on my list. Nashville is not necessarily one of my favorite Robert Altman films, which is strange because I'm actually a big country music fan. I have a great Ken Burns 16-hour documentary about country music, so they cover a lot of the stuff about what Nashville is and the country music machine that comes out of it. So I was kind of familiar with that stuff, and I've seen Nashville in the past, but it's not one that I necessarily run back to. And believe it or not, a lot of people would probably put Nashville and like Shortcuts like as their best or favorite Robert Altman films. They never necessarily have been some of my favorites. I always like, it's weird because I'll actually take a smaller Robert Altman story over like some of his bigger stuff. Like I really like Come On Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, which is a very small one based on a play, a lot more than I probably like Nashville, which might be a sin to say as a cinephile, but yeah, I rewatched it, and it's still very good. It's very good. I mean, you see where it ranks on the list, but just in comparison to other Robert Altman films, I think it's a little bit overrated, if I'm being honest. Next up, Scary Movie. Now, people see Nashville and then see Scary Movie above that. Well, Scary Movie is a movie I grew up with, which after rewatching it this time around, I'm like, what were my parents thinking? I was like 8 or 9 years old when this came out. I'm trying to remember when it came out. I think it's 2000. So anyway, I was a child. There's stuff in this movie I should not have seen, and there's also stuff in this movie that my sense of humor I think gets the better of me, and I'm like, it's so fucking stupid. But again, this is the kind of comedy that I grew up with, so like you can see where my sense of humor comes from. Like a lot of the Wayans comedy kind of fits into my personal comedy style. Jim Carrey kind of came from that same family as well. You can kind of see where my style of comedy, what makes me laugh, comes from. But in this movie, there's a character that like in 2025 would never exist because it's just so transphobic and it's so homophobic and it's just ridiculous. But when the teacher, who clearly is a man, they don't even address it. They don't even bring it up. It's just all of a sudden one of the students says, "Excuse me, Miss Man." Like, it just made me laugh out loud like a child. And I'm just like, it's such a stupid, low-hanging joke, but it worked. And I'm like, I'm such an asshole for this, but I'll be lying to you guys again if I didn't laugh at it. And just like I didn't, I laughed hysterically throughout this entire film like I always do. I mean, it's a perfect spoof of How I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream, and it does it perfectly. And I can't watch Scream and How I Know What You Did Last Summer without actually thinking of these movies. That's my girlfriend! It's just great. Next up, Inherent Vice, which I actually watched last night. Paul Thomas Anderson just came out with one battle after another. Of course, I'm one of those people who just loves auteurs, so once an auteur comes out with a new film, it almost sends me down the rabbit hole of watching their other films. Inherent Vice is a movie I only saw once, and funny enough, someone who Acres of Movies, Stacy, actually said that this was her favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and I was like, I always put this one pretty low, and I've only seen it the once. Maybe I'll give it a rewatch, and It's still probably a little bit low on the Paul Thomas Anderson list, but there is so much in this movie. Clearly, again, the Robert Altman influences like The Long Goodbye and Three Women are just all throughout this film, which is why the plot can get a little bit convoluted, but it's a neo-noir film, so most neo-noir films plots get convoluted. I didn't think it was that hard to follow. Of course, you know, our lead character is a stoner and a super stoner at that, so, you know, he's in this haze, and so the whole movie's like in this haze, but it's got the great Johnny Greenwood score. It looks amazing. Like, this is what a movie that takes place in the 1970s should look like. Like, you know, we usually think of people like cosplaying as characters in the 1970s. These look like 1970s people. And Inherent Vice was fantastic. I can't linger on it too much, but I really enjoyed it at this time around. Next up, I got Tron. I told you it was going to be higher than Tron Legacy. And the biggest insult you ever hear from anyone about Tron is that, oh, Tron looks like shit because of the CGI. It's 1982. Do you know what video games look like in 1982? This makes perfect sense. They're going into the grid. They're going into a computer game. It should look like this. It makes all the logical sense in the world, and I'll be honest, I like how it looks in this movie, and I think the plot is interesting. It's a little silly for the 1980s, but I always enjoy that kind of stuff. Like, we're trying to drive home the fact that Jeff Bridges is a gamer. He can't put the games down. He gets off the computer. He picks up a handheld. I get it all, but again, all stuff that kind of works for me. I still think Tron is a much better film than Tron Legacy. Jeff Bridges is coming back for Tron Ares, which is awesome because I can see an argument for this being the best Jeff Bridges performance. But, you know, obviously, Jeff Lebowski would disagree. And what's his character's name from Fearless? Love that movie as well. Next up, I got my second favorite Scream film, Scream 4. This has always been underrated. It's kind of also like the standalone one. It's the only one we haven't gotten on 4K Blu-ray, even though the rumor is that a Lionsgate limited one is coming out in early 2026. It came out 11 years after Scream 3, and it came out 11 years before Scream 5, or just Scream. So it's kind of like stuck there. Classic middle child syndrome. But the thing is, this movie itself is fantastic. I love the Stabathon marathon that they have at the very end of this movie. The opening scene of this movie is also great. It's got like 2 big twists on it. I just think this one's very underrated. The Blu-ray looks like absolute shit, but the film itself is great. Next up, another one I saw for the very first time. You know, it's a physical media channel. We promote physical media, but this month, you know, I'm trying to save a little bit of money, and I decided to get the Criterion channel for streaming. And one of the movies on there, I haven't seen it yet, is Possession, which I think is Jenna Ortega's favorite horror movie of all time. And, you know, it stars Sam Neill, and I was like, I got to do it. I got to check out Possession. Because I was just going to buy the 4K Blu-ray, but it was like $44. But I'm like, I can just watch it right here for free. Make sure I like the movie first before I buy the 4K Blu-ray. Plus, there isn't a US 4K Blu-ray release yet, so made that a little bit easier. And the movie, yeah, this is very David Lynchian. They sucked the color out of it, so everything like these blues and grays. You're not 100% sure of like what's going on, and I loved it. This movie is amazing. This one is one that will definitely rise up the list, I'm sure. I've only seen it the one time, but this is one that you're going to unpack more each and every single time you check this one out. And what a great young Sam Neill performance. Makes you feel old, though, because, I mean, he looks like a child in this movie. Then look at what he looks like now. It's like, yeah, I guess age catches up to all of us, and makes me sad. Next up, Highest to Lowest, the latest Spike Lee joint starring Denzel Washington. The movie, I thought it was great. I really did enjoy this movie. In comparison to other new releases this month, it doesn't necessarily stack up, mainly because I felt like some of the acting performance in this movie don't live up to other acting performance. Like, Denzel's a world-class actor. He's one of the greatest of all time. You're going to unfortunately put him against A$AP Rocky, and they have to like go against each other in scenes, and A$AP Rocky is not a very good actor. And, you know, Spike Lee has gotten great performances from non-actors in the past, like Ray Allen. But you got Jeffrey Wright in this movie also giving an incredible performance. And it just, those bad actors kind of stay... No, I'm not going to say they're bad actors, but even like Denzel Washington's wife, like, you know, those acting performances, they kind of just drag the film down a little bit. But overall, this is an amazing movie that I hope we get a 4K Blu-ray release, even though I know we won't. Next up, Martyrs, and this was Frank from Frank's Media Reviews Choice Review. Frank just knows horror so well, and he recommended Martyrs, which, you know, got a 4K Blu-ray release this month as well that I would probably like to grab. I'll get it eventually if they don't completely sell out, because that's the new thing, but Martyrs is a great movie. This is one that has a shocking as hell ending. This is labeled as like a gore fest. The gore works great in this movie, by the way. But the story itself, this is one of your classic revenge tales that seems like it's over pretty quick, but then it becomes so much more. You can argue that this is a noir film, just like Inherent Vice. Very different, but in the sense, like, the movie starts in one place, and you think you know what you're getting into, and that is not the film it ends up being, and it works perfectly. Next up, I got Jason Lives. And I know, how could you put a Friday the 13th film above all those other movies? Well, this is my favorite Friday the 13th film. And this is probably the most meta Friday the 13th film you'll ever see. And this is where I wanted the franchise to go before they made A New Beginning and Jason Takes Manhattan. I thought this was perfect. They're having a lot of fun. They're playing with your expectations of the entire franchise. The slasher genre at this point has been used and abused. And, this just felt like something that needed to happen. And I think it works. We didn't have Jason in the film before this. We bring him back to life. Tommy Jarvis' character is playing a big part. This is the end of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. There's so much great Alice Cooper songs in this movie. Good chase sequences. It's very 1980s. And I just think it's the best Friday the 13th film we've ever gotten. Next up, Get Out. And this is Jordan Peele's debut film. My wife wanted to watch this one again. And you know what? It's still a great film. I saw this one in theaters. Blew me away. It's not my favorite. In fact, I would actually say this is probably my least favorite of Jordan Peele's films. Probably just because of the hype machine behind it and the amount of times I've seen it, but I think Us and Nope are actually better films than Get Out. Get Out, though, its message is great. The story is fantastic. The acting performances, obviously, are always good. Daniel Kaluuya in the lead. Lil Ray Howery is hysterical throughout. And Get Out's Get Out. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out. Next up, Robert Altman's Three Women. And as somebody who likes, you can clearly see this is influenced by Ingrid Bergman's films. You get Sissy Spacek and Shelley Duvall in this movie, and throughout this film, there's a lot of confusion in this, and that's why I'm saying this is something that has a huge influence on Inherent Vice. That doesn't give you the answers, which works great. It also is something that clearly has an influence on One Battle After Another, like this, the desert California setting. The spa that they work at, it looks beautiful, this movie. It's a one-of-a-kind film. The characters themselves are so well acted, and yeah, it's going to leave you a little bit confused, but I think that's part of the movie's charm, because you can always run back to a movie like this and try and understand the film each and every single time. You're never bored throughout, despite the fact that there might be some long shots, these slow, dissolved transitions that personally work for me, but I don't know if they'll work necessarily for everybody. Next up, another new release this month, The Long Walk, starring Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson, and they're the heart of this movie. The Long Walk, very much in line with The Running Man and The Hunger Games. You're doing this for your country, but if you win, you'll get all the riches you could ever imagine, and you get your wish granted. But there's 50 of you, and only one of you can win. The other 49, well, don't stop walking. Let's just put it that way. The movie's message, though, is great. It really pulled at your heartstrings. I heard some complaints about the way the movie ends. I just don't think modern film audiences like a movie to end without giving you more information, or almost giving you what happened the next day. It ended and it's I want to know what this leads to. I didn't need that. I liked the way this movie ended. I thought it was perfect. They set it up well. The foreshadowing was great. Just a very well-written film. It's based on a Stephen King novel, so I'm not surprised. I really enjoyed The Long Walk. Next up, 3:10 to Human. Now, this is actually our channel bankroll member, Mr. Smelly Potato's October choice review, but I did watch it in September, so I had to include it on the list. You can see where it ranks for me. I am a huge Western fan. I'm not going to spoil that review because you're going to be seeing it pretty soon, but yeah, I love 3:10 to Yuma. Next up, not necessarily spooky season, but I didn't get to watch it in the summer where it really belongs, and that's Men in Black. This is a movie my wife and I can always watch together. It got Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Still the best Men in Black film we've ever gotten, but it's also a great sci-fi film. It's directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. Danny Elfman did the score for this movie. You can see it also takes a lot of stuff from other movies, which actually does surprise me. The opening credits have always reminded me of Beetlejuice. When I was watching Kroll, there was parts in the score that reminded me of the score in this movie, so Danny Elfman must have took stuff from that. So it checks a lot of boxes for me. Great effects in this film. It's very 1990s, so I've always enjoyed Men in Black, and I definitely enjoyed it this time around. And now we're in the top 5, and I got Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye. And this definitely had the biggest influence on Inherent Vice. It's very noticeable. Even with the narration, Elliot Gould is phenomenal in the lead. He's a private eye. Seems like, he's got everything under control, but just like any good noir film, things start to unravel. The mystery starts to unravel. The movie itself, though, because it's a Robert Altman film, it feels very natural, very realistic. The way the characters are talking, the way the movie is shot, it doesn't feel like your typical noir film. It just really feels like a California film, and I loved it for it. I really loved The Long Goodbye. This is one I checked out on the Criterion channel this month. Next up, 3 Days of the Condor. You guys know we lost one of the greatest actors of all time, and Robert Redford, this month, and I had to watch my favorite Robert Redford film, 3 Days of the Condor. One of the best espionage thrillers of all time. The Kino Lorber 4K Blu-ray is also really good, very underrated. I can recommend that one if you haven't seen it. The movie itself is phenomenal. Even though it's a Robert Redford film, Max von Sydow has one of the greatest character performances in film history in this movie that you really should check out. You know, he really does have a code that he follows, and he's willing to explain it to you. So I just love Max von Sydow in this movie. Check it out. Max von Sydow, Robert Redford. Can you really go wrong? And at number 3, we have one of my all-time favorite horror films. I talked about it. You saw that I watched all the Scream movies. Well, the original one is still the best. The best one from 1996. This one really saved the horror genre because it was pretty much flatlining at this point. You know, under the surface flatlining. I don't think many people realized how good horror still was, but we needed this meta horror film to come along. We needed Wes Craven to come back and make another classic. He made a classic horror in the 70s, he made a classic horror film in the 80s, and of course he makes Scream in the 1990s, commenting on all the horror films that came before it. You get great acting performances in this movie. You know, it's not a straightforward horror film, it's also pretty funny. The last scene of the movie is about half the movie, so it's just a very unique one, and it obviously led to a very successful and pretty high quality horror franchise, but none of them will be able to top Scream. And at number 2, we have my all-time favorite horror film, Candyman. After watching Judgment Night, which takes place in Chicago in the Cabrini Green Village, well, of course, that means that I'm going to get a little itchy for some Candyman, and I had to put Candyman on. And yeah, this is still my favorite horror film of all time. I love Candyman. Tony Todd is great. Virginia Madsen is awesome in this film as well. It looks great. It's got that spooky season feel to it. Like, you know, it's also a commentary on what's going on in the world around it at the time, while also being based on the Bloody Mary game, just saying Candyman's name in the mirror. But there's so much more to it. There's so many layers to this film, and that's why I think it's the greatest horror film of all time. And at number 1, I have One Battle After Another. And people might be like, you're going to put that already above your favorite horror film of all time. And yeah, I am, because One Battle After Another, I do believe is a true blue masterpiece. 10 out of 10 film. This is one we'll be talking about forever. Like, I keep thinking about it. You might be like, okay, recency bias. And yeah, that is playing a factor. But the characters in this movie are so memorable, and the subject of the movie is so memorable and so topical that it's an important film, while also being Paul Thomas Anderson, who's directed some of the greatest films of all time. But now you give him a lot of money. You give him Leonardo DiCaprio, just an actor that can just outshine every other actor, despite how good actors they are. He's just that good. And Sean Penn, I was thinking about it today. I was on the walk with the dogs, and I'm thinking, is this Sean Penn's best performance ever? Like, you think that, like, Carlito's Way or, you know, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he's got these very memorable performances in him. But this character, man, as Sean Lockjaw, ah, my God. And then Benicio del Toro. There's so much in this movie. I can't wait to talk spoilers with you guys. I have a non-spoiler review on the channel, but I want people to go see this for themselves and try and go into it as blind. I do think that... who was it the other? I think it was Sean... It was Adam McKay. Adam McKay said, like, one of his favorite things to do is just go into a movie without knowing anything about it. I've been on that train for a very long... It's very hard to avoid trailers at this point, though, but if you can, it's just so rewarding without any expectations or knowing what the movie is about and letting it unfold naturally. And one battle after another, if you can do that, you're in for one of the greatest treats you've ever gotten. So definitely check that one out. But anyway, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of every film I ranked from the month before. This month happened to be September. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel memberships, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel, like John Doe Juggalo, Ben Rondo, and Harvey Scott, you can do that. Or you can even become a channel director like Nicholas Head, Stone Gas Man, Frank from Frank's Media Reviews, Uncle V, and Kevin Kruger, or you can even jump it up to the channel bankroll members like Mr. Smelly Potato. But of course, guys, if you got no money to throw my way, don't worry about it at all. I just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.